Hi guys, this is Rina. We're talking about the journey to 10 billion shillings at Oak Special Fund. Actually, now we're actually over 10 billion, but we're celebrating that we've hit 10B, and we are so grateful to God for that. If this is the first video watching, I want to encourage you to please go back and watch the previous one, because I give now where the idea came from and how we began. Go back to that. You will then meet Ian, and then we shall continue on this one. So Ian accepts, but of course he hasn't come in. We need to finish off a few things, and then we hire 2 traders. So this is 2023 somewhere, maybe July, August, and so we hired 2 traders, okay, to start. So I talked to the board again. I said, guys, I need some money. So they're like, oh man, things were tough, Richie.
When the idea of a special fund was brought to me by Rina, it looked like a far-fetched project. But after sitting on several meetings to discuss it, I got convinced that it's something worth trying. And then we monitored every time its performance. And as you know, in any kind of investment, you plow in money fast. So you're actually under the floor by loss, just spending in the hope of at some point you will make your money.
Things were tough. And that year in particular, 2023, for some reason was really tough cash flow wise. And so they were like, you know what, fine. We'll give you some money, but we can only give you, to try, $40,000. I said, sawa, we can do something. So I've hired these guys. They have only $40,000. It's a joke. $40,000 to start with, okay? And ideally, with these kinds of things, you want to start with like $1 million. Are we together? So that you're making some moves and making some interesting investments. But we didn't have that. I didn't have that. So now, I will not tell you the details, but let me just tell you, as at December of that year, let me say because of these 2 traders, particularly one of them who was a little bit more aggressive than I would have liked, we lost 90% of that money. Yeah. I was like, oh, eh? So every week it's like, no. So you need to be disciplined. This is the whatever. So now what happened was remotely, Ian was helping to guide these guys. I told Ian, you need to come. You gotta just quit this job and come and join us, because this is not working. So in November 2023, Ian joined the team.
By the time I moved, I moved to Faida Investment Bank. I remember it was 16th of November 2023. That is around the same time that we got a no objection letter from Capital Markets Authority. The license was not out, but at least we knew that we have a green light to start setting up. And that is when I physically moved offices, and we started what I'll call as a small proprietary desk, just to test the way that we're going to manage these funds as we initiate them later. So that time I remember very well. We got 2 dealers with us and myself, so we were just 3 of us. And we started trading a very small portfolio, just, I'll say, for practice, just to see strategy, to discuss with management, and to see how we transition to now the CIS.
And then it was like, the losses stopped. We started making profits. But now we have like 10,000. Hey, Ian needs to come every week, Rina. We need money. I'm like, I know, but where am I getting money from? How do I go and tell them I've lost 40K? Can we recover? So we're trying to figure out, how do we recover these tunes to take it back to 40K so that I can go say, okay, the 40K has made 1,000. Okay, can you give me more? But now I have 10 Gs. Yeah. Anyway, we had figured it out. We cracked it. We fired this guy, hired someone else. And by January, now we were raring to go. So we agreed, launch date for this fund, February 2024. We agreed, sawa. What do we need? We need money.
Okay. As the name suggests, proprietary, it means that the funds came from Faida Investment Bank itself. And we basically just started on a very small desk on what we call contracts for difference. Then, as we now planned on setting up what we call counterparties, so we had to set up the custody, we had to set up the trustees, and now open the accounts so that we are ready for the CIS. By the time we were ready now for the CIS, we had started interactions with several counterparties in what we need to do, including what we call OTC, over-the-counter trades. We were able to open the NSC accounts, so that, and also the CBK accounts in terms of bonds, so that we are ready. But I'll say it was a bit of a challenge, especially for counterparties, approaching them at that moment. First, you are selling them a dream. No one knows Oak, and actually, if I may recall, we didn't even start from Oak, because we applied for 3 licenses, and the 3 licenses, if I can say them here, it's Angaza Money Market Fund, Hazina Bond Fund, and KUA Multi-Asset Strategy Fund. I remember, so our strategy was first start with what is unique, which was KUA, and that's what we wanted to propose. So by the time we were setting up, and by February, we actually started getting our first client. We got them in February, I remember very well. And getting our first client, and we needed counterparties not to have any funds idle, and we couldn't have concentration risk putting in one counterparty. I remember trying to convince several of the counterparties that this is something that will grow. And some of them, to be honest, so are not giving us even the time of day to even have these discussions. Because I remember by around February last year to March, we just had around 14-15 million Kenya shillings. So by the time we are going to meet head of treasuries and telling them we want to discuss on forward swaps and such, and you have 14 million shillings, no one wants to hear your conversations. But time has proved that our dream was valid. We've grown. And today, as we celebrate crossing the 10 billion mark, and now what has transformed from KUA Multi-Asset Fund to Oak Multi-Asset Special Fund, I'm glad that these days we can approach even counterparties from outside the country, and we can have the conversations and get onboarded.
So yeah, so in January we were raring to go. Oh, by the way, the guy we hired, that second guy, when we fired the guy who lost us the money, the second guy we hired was Hillary. And here's Hillary. Meet Hillary.
Hello, my name is Hillary Tadayo. I'm a senior dealer at Faida Investment Bank. I work in Global Markets Division under Oak Special Fund. Okay, it's an interesting story. First, I came in before even the start of Oak Special Fund in terms of clients. So when I joined, it was all about putting the papers together. Everything is sitting correctly. The license is okay. We are setting up, and we have seed money that we are trading. So I came in November of 2023. The team had been set from August of 2023. So in setting up the team, there were two dealers before I came. And those were the people who started the office, actually, only 2 people. Our director had not even physically come to Oak Special Fund. So when I came, there was 1 dealer that left within a short period. It was 2 months after he had joined. Then I came in to fill in his position. So we also were 2 at that time. And now our director had come now physically. Just before I joined, I think 1 week before I joined is when the director came in physically. So when I came, we were only 3. The director of global markets and another dealer and myself. The journey was good because at that time there were no clients. We didn't have any investment from outside. Oak Special Fund was trading seed capital. And when I talk about seed capital, is just some money that Faida Investment Bank injected into the fund just to prepare the dealers on what to expect, just have a feel of the investment journey. So we did that in November and in December and also in January. So the first client actually came in when February was coming to an end, February of 2024. About 20th of February, that is when we got the first client. At that point, I think when we were starting, it was not really structured because now we are figuring out what are we going to do with the seed capital, what investments we are going to do. So we were looking at what is easy to start with. And there was this asset class called contracts for difference, CFDs in short. So this asset class was easy to get into because the onboarding process at least was easy. And since it was seed capital, there were no too much structure whereby we need documentation of this and that and where and the custody and the trustees. So it was easy to get into an asset class called contracts for difference. That is what we started with. And also we were able to place money in call deposits, fixed deposits in banks to get a rate of return, even though the rate was not good, but that was what was available at that time. And I think that was that, because even on the OTC is over-the-counter trades. Over-the-counter trades, the spot trades or the swap trades or the forward trades, it was not even easy to do that because we didn't have any muscle to perform those trades. And any other fund manager who have been there before us, they were not willing to do business because they thought, okay, we are not getting value. We are too small, for them. So those were the things we were doing. I think we embraced that contracts for difference asset class initially, a bit high risk asset, but I'm glad to say at that moment we were doing well because we were concentrating on it more. We didn't have too much of assets to trade, so managing it was a bit easy. Before now we got into the real assets, other assets and diversification.
Yeah, so that was Hillary. So Hillary comes and now we're starting to make some good returns. We are settled, we have our systems in order. We're now reading all these different rules and regulations because now CMA's regulations for special funds had just come in. They had been gazetted at the end of 2023. So we're now changing our operations to meet CMA requirements so that then we can get the formal license. Anyway, 2024, we are all good to go and we begin, okay? We've opened custodian accounts, we've done everything, and now we're good to go. February, we start. Lakini sasa. I told you how much do we need to start? $1 million. How much do we have? 2.5 million shillings. Yeah. So I put in some of my money, and the one that was left from the 90% loss, right? So it was close to 3 million, was somewhere there, okay? And we said, let's just start with what we have. And so we opened our doors and just said, please just, we have this thing. And it was word of mouth to start off with. And so get money from here, from there. And after 1 month, we hired Titus to come and help us and to sell. By this time, we have some returns. But before I carry on with my story, here's Titus.
Greetings. I am Titus Kimel, Head of Distribution and Business Development, Faida Investment Bank, Global Markets Division, where the OC Special Fund sits. Wow, it's a long journey. OC actually didn't start as OC some 1.5 years back. OC started as KES Special Fund. The growth has been tremendous. We've seen things change from a very small fund in terms of assets under management, a very small fund in terms of the infrastructure around it, both human infrastructure and physical infrastructure, or human resource and physical infrastructure, or even ICT infrastructure. When the fund started, I remember the department had only, I think, 4 members of staff. Right now, we've seen the growth to over 25 members of staff as at today. I sit on the side of feeding the pipeline. That's my duty. Because without the hunting, there is no the kitchen. The kitchen is not there. And if the kitchen is not there, there is nothing on the menu. And there is nothing on the serving table. The serving dishes will be empty. So we've seen a lot in terms of the growth of the fund. We've seen the fund grow from a very small value to the value it is now, slightly above 10 billion Kenya shillings. Those numbers are not just figures. Those numbers are relationships. Those relationships are as a result of trust. Those relationship or that trust is as a result of a journey. Because we believe in, if you're selling without establishing a relationship, you're not building value. If the client comes back, you've started establishing a relationship. If the client refers you to someone else, you've actually now built a relationship. It's not been easy, but we thank God in all this because we've seen him in all ways, whether it is from talking to clients, whether it is the operational bit of the fund, whether it is the back end of the fund in terms of dealing, or even the larger management. We've seen synchronicity, what do we call that word? Synchronicity, yes, synchronicity, that word. In essence, that word is collaboration. To me, collaboration is very key when it comes to a corporate setup. Every part of the wheel has to be moving, all the cogs, because I don't believe in working alone. There's a saying that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. If you want to run far, run with a group. There has been collaboration between departments, from the janitor, let me call it that way, to the person who prepares the tea, to the people who go out there to talk to clients, to the marketing team that ensures that we have a digital presence, to the dealers, to the CIO, to the larger bank. We've seen that collaboration, and that is one thing that has enabled us to be where we are today. Of course, I must appreciate our clients. It is not easy for someone to just trust a fund when it is very young. But of course, the bank does not come empty. It has been here for some time. Faida Investment Bank has been in the corporate space. It has been a to-go place for clients who would like maybe to buy or sell shares. We've seen a lot of support in the market. So it's a bank that is well established. Now with the baby, with the new baby, when clients, I'm talking to them, when I was actually onboarding the very first clients, they were asking me, Titus, the baby is too young. It's still an infant. But I was telling them, because one of the most powerful conversations around selling, where I sit, and I love it, I love doing that, is selling by stories. So every time I meet a client who was a little bit hesitant, they have the money, they have the willingness to invest, and they're asking, Titus, the fund is still very young. I used to give them a narrative, which I believe I can give today, that the OC Special Fund, which now transitioned from KES to OC Special Fund, is a new baby born to a very experienced mother right? And the mother is Faida Investment Bank. So the mother is a seasoned mother, a mother who has raised other kids. Some have actually flown away and left probably an empty nest. But it's not empty. That's why we are having other products coming up. And of course, we listen, and as a bank, we've been listening to our investors, and the reason as to why we have the OC Special Fund today.
So let me take you back a bit. Now, December of 2023, we don't have any clients' money. We've traded seed capital. We've made a return on seed capital, but we were not reporting because we were not trading any money from outside. Now, come in January, only 2 dealers with the support of our director, sitting in the room trying to figure out, okay, how is this year going to pan out? Are we going to have clients start coming in? Is our AUM going to now start growing or something? We didn't even have sales, someone to push, someone to mention our name out there. Before Ian, our director, engaged now some other people who can at least sell the product. So in February 2024, 20th, there was a client who came, and they had faith in us, and I'm lucky to be there at that moment to see that now we are getting a first client. And we were brought the client by our head of distribution, who is our current head of distribution. At that moment, he was not even in the fund. He was just out, but believing in the process and trusting us with the client, because he was not even part of us at that time. So we got this client, and now it dawned to us, okay, this is client's money, so everything is changing. It's not seed capital. You know, now stakes are high. You cannot play around now with someone else's money. You know, the internal money, if something happens, it's not that tense. But if it's someone else's money, a client's money, and things are now getting into structure, that is when it dawns that this is now the real thing.
When I started, I said that the growth of anything, and especially when in business or even social life, it's about relationships. And relationships are about trust. I've been in the space of client-facing roles in terms of business development or distribution of financial services for the last couple of years. And over the years, I've built a network, deep and wide, in terms of, can people trust you with their resources? Can clients patronize what you're offering as a value proposition? So I remember very well that in the year 2023, Ian, the current CIO, who has done a tremendous job, approached me that we are at the tail end of starting a fund at Faida. Rather, they were at the tail end of now getting the licensing, the documentation of starting a fund. And he was sourcing for a head of sales. That time I was working somewhere else in another institution, but still within the financial services, because that's my niche, that's my forte. So he called me, and we were trying to browse through or comb through and vet a couple of guys in terms of building a brand that it was Kua, now it's Oak. So we sat at one of the city hotels and we had a discussion, and he was like, what do you think about this guy? Then at the tail end of the conversation, I told him, Ian, because 1, 2, 3 is not in place, you might actually strain that person, because that side of business, I think it's my strength for the couple of years that I've been around. So I told him, instead of you struggling, I'm ready to handhold you on that space. Because I've worked with Ian in the previous life somewhere else. So we started, and I sat actually in this room with Rina Hicks and Ian And I remember very well Rina X telling me, because I was pushing some very big figures. At times I don't look serious, but I'm a very serious chap. So Rina X told me that we are all endowed differently, right? Everybody has a niche where they perform excellently. A fish will never compete with a tiger, because one is excellent in the water, the other is excellent is a terrestrial animal. So my niche is that. So they told me with Ian, are you in a position to mobilize 1, 2, 3? And I told them, yeah, it's true. In as much as we don't have everything in place, I'm ready to talk to a couple of my clients, friends that I've actually interacted with for the last 15 years, and we start this. So it's not easy, but as I said, trust builds relationships, integrity, capacity to keep your word, be a person of your word. My predecessors or the people who have mentored me have also told me that don't lie, be honest, don't be malicious, be a man of your own word. Integrity, it builds a lot. So one client actually trusted us, and I kept on nagging him. A little nudge is not bad. And I keep telling him, can we actually look at ways of diversifying your portfolio? Because I've worked with him for a couple of years. A personal friend, a coach who has actually, I've learned a lot from him. Of course, we won't mention names, but he's a very powerful friend, number one, over and above him being a client. So he agreed to give it a start, a shot. To be very honest, even we didn't have any digital footprint whatsoever. Very green in the space. But of course, he knew about the bank, and the relationship that we had with him played a major role in building. So we started. I don't actually even joined the fund. I was working from outside. My email domain was still Gmail. So clients would like, when I send a proposal to my clients, but Titus, why are you not working there? Are you sure you're working with them? Yes, of course, they trust me. But money is a sensitive thing. Money is a very delicate relationship. You mess someone around money, you mess them forever. So the fund started. Later I joined in May 2024. Oh, sounds way back long.
Titus was amazing. Titus brought life and excitement and just energy, and he just comes into a room and you just feel positive about life and everything is possible. He's those guys who just give that vibe. And I remember that first month that Titus came, he brought us 10 million shillings from one, are you understanding me? Started 2.5 million shillings. And then we have 10 million, of course, eventually, right? We got more from different people, but the 10 million was like one huge amount that came. And at that time, by the way, our minimum investment amount was 1 million shillings. And it was amazing. And we said, oh my gosh. And that 10 million shillings made us realize that we're now in business. Yes, we're not yet profitable. We're still needing Faida to finance a lot of the operational expenses. But something clicked for me, and it was like, you know what? If a human being can give us 10 million, we're in business. And so we carried on. Yeah, so then in August, I knew I needed help. And I needed help that would take advantage of social media as a means to market, because we can't do billboards, we can't do ads in the paper, on TV. And so I spoke to Richard Zhao to recommend somebody who can help us on this journey. And here is Richard Zhao.
Hi, my name is Richard Zhao, and I am the head of digital marketing and AI integration at Faida Investment Bank, specifically for the Oak Special Fund. So how did I end up joining Faida Investment Bank to do digital marketing for Oak Special Fund? So I knew Rina from a previous life. I had a company called Fob Digital, and Fob Digital was responsible for MoneyWise with Rina Hicks in terms of positioning Rina Hicks as a digital authority marketer, digital authority within the financial world. So in September of 2024, it's actually not September, in December of 2023, I interviewed her on CTA. CTA, by the way, is responsible for me getting a lot of jobs. It's my HR. So after I interviewed her, in the CTA, she mentioned that there's something that she's working on. And of course, off camera, she told me, hey, by the way, there's something I'm working on. I'll talk to you sometime in March. Fast forward to 2024, March came and went. And in September, she calls me and she's like, hey, Richie, I need help. I'm looking for somebody to do digital marketing for this thing that I was working on. So I told her, cool, no problem. And then after trying to find the people, I was like, Rina, I called her back and I was like, I know this is going to sound strange. There's nobody that I have currently that I trust will deliver at the quality that you want. So for this specific one, I'll do it. And I think she was in total shock because I'd said I'm not per se focusing on working with clients. But I told her, I'll work with you, but then I also need leeway in how I work. And why I was willing to work with Rina is because she was going to allow me to work, and I don't have to explain a lot of different things to her. There was this trust and acceptance of authorities within different fields that me and her had. So anyway, long story short, she calls me in and I agree and I come in to start working. I remember I gave her some conditions. I was like, I don't want to be in the office. I want to work for my office. I want to work as a consultant. You know, you guys in financial world, you dress in suits and things. Don't start making me come to work in suits. Don't make me cut my hair. Anyway, Rina was cool peeps and I joined. So the first thing I did was I needed to sit down with Rina and I needed to meet Ian Kahangara. So I met them. I met them both. I understood that how I was going to do digital marketing was very different from what Ian thought, but then I was okay. I thought Rina had a trust level with how I was going to do it, my approach to digital. So anyway, I got to meet Ian, which was wonderful. I met Ian and Rina, and the thing I told them is, I just want to know what you're going to judge me on. What is the goal? What do you want? How are you going to know that I'm successful? And they told me 1B by December. It's September. By December, you want to be at 1B. I say, okay, no problem. I've understood the vision, the goal. So my next stage is to understand, to do an audit. I always do something called a digital audit. So what I did is I went to Windsor House, which is in town where Oak Special Fund sits. Basically the team that work behind Oak Special Fund. We're shooting this at Crawford, but here there's different people and different players who are here. So the team that was in town under Windsor were Oak. So anyway, I went there and I spent a week and a half every day just going. I got to meet the team. At the time, the team was Hillary. I got to spend a whole couple of days with him just to find out what do you do. I got to meet Fiona and find out what is it that you do. Interview them, literally interview them. I got to meet Joy, Titus, Michael was there at the time. And I think that was about it in terms of the size of the Oak team. And of course, Ian. Then from that, I went and audited the industry. By that, I'm talking about the financial industry. To find out, okay, how am I going to position this Oak Special Fund from a marketing perspective? To put it, I don't even call it marketing, I call it digital authority positioning, because once you position Oak as the authority, you attract the people. Rather than you having to go out and look, people come and look for you. That's the approach I always take. It had always worked. So after that, I came up with the digital strategy. And the gaps that I felt that were in the industry was one, trustability. There was a lot of cons in the industry who had caused pain to people. So I knew for Oak to work from a marketing perspective, it needed to be trustworthy. And I trusted the people who were there, specifically Rina, because I had history with her. She was a woman of integrity. So I knew if it was effective, it was going to attract people to Oak. And therefore, I didn't want people losing their money, just for my values. So from a value perspective, me and Rina aligned. We had met back in the day in Mavuno. Anyway, so trust was the first T. You heard Ian talk about the different T's. So the second thing that I realized about the financial industry, there was a lot of jargon, but also lack of understanding. So the second tier I came up with in terms of the digital approach was transparency, which meant two things. One, we were going to open up the hood. There's nothing that we were not going to explain to investors, clients of Oak Special Fund. So transparency was key. And transparency, also how we communicated this, needed to be in a way that was layman, because a lot of jargon was in the industry. AUM, what is AUM? And it was so good that I was coming in green without understanding these things. Even though I'd worked for a different financial industry, this jargon needed to be broken down. And the third one was tactfulness. If you're saying you're targeting 20%, you need to hit this 20%. You need to be tactful, or at least, you need to be tactful in it, because the transparency, we are going to put out our returns and our performance. And if we're not tactful, it doesn't matter how good the marketing is, people are not going to join because it's not worth investing in. So those are the 3 T's. And I got the green light. And I was like, first and foremost, Ian, I know you don't like being in front of camera, but you're going to be. But one of the things that I realized we needed to do was, digital is such a powerful tool that once we begin to position Oak at a certain level of authority, people would begin reaching us directly. So I needed to change the system, and that's where AI integration came. And therefore, I had to change the system in which leads came to us, or create a system, not per se even change. And that was through WhatsApp AI, WhatsApp API with AI. And that's a different infrastructure that we created. I showed it to Rina and Ian, they loved it. In fact, they threw a whole bunch of different people who worked in different departments, even into that number. Story for a different day. But we formed a structure. We went out doing the marketing, and it was mind-blowing how that growth then just started. The hockey stick from October just changed. Actually, one of the other things which I did, which was a bit, I can talk about it now, was I understood the industry didn't understand the word passive income. Passive income sounded like jargon. And so what I did is it's jargon to the layman, even though you may say, yeah, everybody knows what passive income is. Qua ground, I got to understand people wanted and thought they did, but it didn't sound like they did. Yeah, I want to make passive income. So on CTA, I then brought competitors to sit down to have a conversation, and we did a series called How to Make Money Doing Nothing. What the purpose of that series was to educate people about the importance and the joy and the gift that is passive income. Sort of a way of shaking up the market to make them, decide that, yeah, passive income is something that I want to pursue. Because the beauty of, and not just passive income, even compounding, how do we demystify this? So that's the reason why I had that series with Rina and Pius. And I would say it was not only was it viral, but it was extremely effective for both companies. Even though there was one or two people who questioned why is it that I'm doing that. Yeah. So from the leads, we then began to see just an influx of leads. And there was a slowness in the integration of the system for communication. So a lot of leads were dropping. A lot of leads were not being taken past acquisition. And a lot of leads felt like the quality at which they were being spoken to was insufficient or not up to par. And of course, this is, the amount of leads that were coming in, I think at a peak were 200 people a day or something like that. I'll let Fiona explain it best.
Wow. I remember when we did the first video, when the marketing team came, now we were told we want to go live because we were still under the wraps. We didn't really make noise about Oak, right? So we were told marketing team is coming and we need to put our ninis in place, our structures in place, because once we go out, the inflows will start coming and there's no turning back. Once that tap is opened, it's going. So I remember we were just the two of us with Joy, so we were asking now, how are we going to do this? So the first thing we did, we tried to talk to the developer. Since we knew the inflows will be a lot. So is there a way that we can just integrate between the custodian and the system so that when the funds come, they just automatically get into the system? We don't have to do it manually. Because remember, it's just the two of us. One has to input manually, the other one has to approve. So you have to go statement by statement, transaction by transaction. And by the time the first video went out, we were receiving 50 transactions per day. 50 transactions per day. That was the first day. So by the time 4 weeks, say a month, we were getting 200 transactions. You have to input one. Joy approves. It was hectic. But here we are. We made it. 200 transactions, EV manually. Yeah.
So that's the kind of numbers in terms of leads that were coming in a day. So fast forward to January, I literally was like, I'm not doing any more videos until the backend lead structure is captured, because that's just how fast we're growing. When we hit a B, I even went and shot that video and I told Rina that this completely changes everything, because what we're putting out is that we're effective, that Oak Special Fund is a hot cake. It's going to, the new emotion that that is going to force people off the edge and to join Oak would be FOMO, the fear of missing out, especially because the returns were returning. And I remember that time we showed the return for 2024 and I think it was 29.83 or something like that. The cutaway has come on. In October, one of the things that also are very important that I note this, in October, after the series that we did with Pius and Rina, I realized I was talking about Oak, but I wasn't a practitioner. And after they did that series on passive income, it was so effective, even to me, that I was like, I have to join Oak. How can I be telling people to join Oak and I myself are not joining Oak? And in October of 2024, I officially joined Oak as a client. And that completely has been a financial game changer in my life. That's where even now we're like, you know what, we need to jilipe. Every single month you need to pay yourself first. Every single month or every single paycheck or every single income that you earn, a certain percentage, you need to take it and throw it into building your portfolio for the generation of passive income. So Oak, from that personal level, has changed my life, changed my kids' life, and will continue to do so. But it has been an incredible journey. It's easy to sell something that is legit. Let me also just say that. It's easy to sell something that is legit. Granted, there's been a few hiccups here and there. People always talk about the July. And as part of transparency, in July, we're like, we need to go out and do a webinar for communication. We didn't make a loss. And one of the things that I explained to Ian and Rina is that because of being part of the pioneers, I think there's only one other institution in terms of special funds that was there before Faida Investment Bank. We're the ones educating the market. So, because they kept asking, but we've not made a loss. Why are guys up in arms? I'm like, because people are uneducated. Money is highly emotional. So one of the things that we have to be aware of is that we are in the game of educating people about special funds, educating people about passive income, educating people about compounding, educating people about capital markets authority. We're not just selling Oak. We are in the process of educating people about money, investments, and how it works. Yeah.
So while all of this is happening, Joseph Kinuthia Jr., who is fantastic guy, he's our head of equity trading, brilliant human, very, very experienced, has been in the industry for a long time. I really look up to him in so many ways. So Junior comes to me and says, hey, Rina, I like the name, but Kua is a good name. But in Kikuyu, Kua, nego Kua. I was like, oh my God, I didn't see that. Meaning, go Kua in Kikuyu is to die. Kua in Kiswahili is to grow. And I'm like, where? We have the license. We have our certificate. Do you know what it is to get another certificate done by CMA? Like, it's just, we have bank accounts, custodian accounts, like we've set up everything. In the name Kua, and this guy tells me, go Kua. Anyway, so I had to think, okay, what names? I call a few people together, we need to change the name. So and so and so and so, what do we call this thing? Anyway, so we came up with the name Oak, and for obvious reasons, stability. By the oak tree houses such a huge number of species of animals, and we felt that it represents what we want to do, and it lasts 1,000 years. So we wanted a symbol, a name that represents stability, trustworthiness, dependability, and that's what the name Oak does for us. So we went through a process of changing, and I remember we even did content on video rather. But yeah, Kua, yes, that's what your account says, but we still have the problem today. But it's a great reminder of where we've come from. Anyway, so we changed the name and we began now marketing. By the time we started marketing, I think when we started marketing, we were about 323 million. And I remember being asked, by the team, what's our target? And we discussed this with Titus, and I said, our target is 1B. By December, I said, done, I get it. And it just seemed like, what have I just said? Like, how can I say a B? We started a few months ago, and 1B just sounded like it was so huge. And it was. And it is. And December 31st, we had 927 million shillings. We didn't hit a B by December, but we were very close. January 8th, 2025, we hit a B. And this is how we celebrated that B. Good morning. Today is a special day. Special! We have actually hit over 1 billion shillings in our special fund. And so I actually want to go over and say thank you to the team. It's thank you to the entire team, and thank you to God for this amazing, amazing milestone. But I want to just do a special thank you to the team for the hard work, tireless efforts they have made to make sure that we are here in such a short time before it's even 1 year old. So will you come with me? Let's go. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I'm so late, Jenny. How are you all? Good. Hi, how are you? Hi, Anne. Hi, how are you? Good. Hey, Joy. Hey, thank you. You too. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year. I am very well. How are you? Good. Congratulations and well done.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations to the Oak team.
It didn't quite work as we wanted.
Congratulations.
I know. So we need to sing a song. I don't know which song, but preferably a praise song to just say thank you to the Lord, because we have. Greg. In fact, Greg, you told me you sing and dance. So he's a good dancer. Yeah. So anyway, before we cut cake, allow me to just say how deeply grateful I am for this moment. I know a few of you are here in the room when I came and I said, these are the products, this is where we are going, this is where I want us to be by the end of the year. And it was just like 3 months to the end of the year. And so I think I sent an email it was last week, on the 8th of January, we had crossed 1 billion shillings. It might not sound like a big deal, but let me tell you, when this has been a journey for 6 years. You don't know this story, so allow me to just tell it to you, and I'll be very quick. 6 years ago, I met a dealer, and we sat down and we planned how we're going to start this global markets department at Faida. But unfortunately, I was the only one who saw that there could potentially be anything like this in this market. A few months later, that said person moved somewhere else and they started their own thing. And I sort of just gave up. And I was like, you know what, maybe let me just sit behind here, twiddle my thumbs and do what I was called here to do. Anyway, and then early 2022, there's a fire that came in, and I was told, please, you guys can now proceed with global markets, which I was so grateful for. The board accepted. Anyway, long story short, we began with Ian. Ian was the first person that I managed to talk to and convince, and he accepted to come join us. And we began this journey. And look how we are many in this room, right? So each of you, in your different capacities, have supported us in one way or another. And so I'm here to say thank you to you and also to God for just being able to be here. I think it's very important to celebrate milestones and to just give thanks and to recognize that it is not by one person's strength, but, you know, with many people, you can do things that you never, ever imagined possible. So well done to all of you. I just want to say a big, big thank you. And I want to give Ian an opportunity to say one word or two, and then we shall cut cake.
Thank you. I have no words to say, but to say first, Rina, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for the whole of Faida team believing in me. I'll say I was ambushed. I remember the first conversation that we had. I came to sell Windsor products in a boardroom until Bob got his notebook and said, "But when did you finish high school?" I wondered, why are we discussing high school? And I'm here to sell Windsor products. But I saw an opportunity and I grabbed it, and I thank the Lord for that. I believed in this. I believed in the journey, and so far I can just say it's God's blessings. And also thank you for the team. I know majority of you, some of you are joining us now, when now we look glamorous and everything. But Titus knows, Joy knows, Hillary knows very well the trenches, Fiona, Michael knows, others have come at least when things are a bit softer, but still they've seen. But I'm telling you, in 1 year, people will join and they'll be wondering, oh, you guys, this is the soft life that you've been living. Only not knowing that we have had to toil and work hard to achieve this. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rina. Thank you to Bob in absentia. Thank you to the whole management, and to great heights.
shangwe na vigelegele. That was 1B. I hope you took note of that office and how we were cramped up in there. End of episode 2. We'll be right back. I hope you're enjoying listening to this journey. And as you listen, in case you're like, I want to join Oak, the details on the screen. We have the Kenya Shilling Fund that's available for you. We also have the USD Fund that is open and available to you. And so we can share a fact sheet with you, information on how you can set up. You can set up a call to find out more information, and the details are on the screen. Karibu sana.